Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Felina Fleck. I am the Assistant Director at the University of San Diego School of Law. I am mainly responsible for recruiting our students, the marketing for our office, and yeah, I'm super excited to be part of this team and super excited to be able to organize such discussions as today for everyone. I think it's always very, very important topic and interesting to learn more about. And I'm so thankful for Professor Alveri joining us today to give us more insights about that. I'll hand it off to you to introduce yourself a little further.
Great. Thank you so much, Felina. It's nice to see everybody here and thank you for joining us today. As Felina mentioned, I teach here at USD School of Law, specifically in our online LLM in US Law program. And I'm also the Associate Director for Graduate and International Programs. So I serve primarily as an academic advisor for our current students to help them plan out their courses in a way that makes sense for them individually. And I also assist our international students with their visa process. So anyone coming to campus from another country usually needs a student visa, and I help with those steps as well. Fortunately, if you do an online program, you don't need any visa. You can take the classes from anywhere. So hopefully you're considering pursuing an LLM, or perhaps you're already in an LLM program. But today I'll be talking about how taking the bar exam factors into your LLM program choice and also the curriculum that you do in the program. Some people are not interested at all in taking a bar exam and want to focus on a particular concentration in their LLM program, but I'm finding a higher percentage of students who are really interested in sitting for a bar exam, especially California bar exam and the New York bar exam, in addition to some other states. So I'll be talking about that today and how we work that into your LLM program. And we'll focus mostly on California, since that's a top choice for most of our students, since we're a California-based law school. So what I'm going to do is share my screen, and I have a slide presentation that I'm happy to share with attendees afterwards, if you like. And we're also recording the session for people who could not make it or maybe can't attend the whole thing. So let me just go from the beginning, make that big. Give me a thumbs up or nod to show that you can see the screen. Great.
Yes.
So we are going to talk about pathways to the bar exam and working with your LLM curriculum to make sure that it's tailored to help you meet that goal. So I just wanted to start out with a quick view of our campus and give you some background information. That's a shot of the University of San Diego in the photo there, and you can see we're situated very close to the Pacific Ocean and Mission Bay. We're literally just a few minutes from the beach and have that wonderful kind of Spanish Mediterranean architecture throughout our campus. So although it's a small campus, or small to medium size, it's very walkable and very beautiful and a wonderful place to study law. The curriculum, of course, is very challenging, so we like to offer this beautiful setting in which to study. So USD itself just celebrated its 75th anniversary, and at the law school we've been here for 70 years, so just not long after the university itself was founded. And we are a private Catholic university. Although you do not need to be Catholic to attend here or to work here, it is based on kind of the Catholic tradition in terms of how the campus looks and certain facilities that are on campus as well. The School of Law itself, like I mentioned, is 70 years old. We just celebrated that anniversary from when it was established in 1954. And if you look at the students in the law school as a group, we have just over 800 or so at any one time during the year that are being educated, whether it's in a JD program or an LLM program, or perhaps our Master of Science in Legal Studies program. We usually have a handful of law exchange students mixed into the population as well. So our degree programs are mentioned here, and we'll focus on the LLM, and in particular the LLM in US Law program. That's one that we've designed especially for our international applicants. And it also allows you to take bar exam subjects. So if you're thinking about sitting for the bar, this would be the program that Felina both recommend. Okay, so that's just background information on the university. Now let's get into the meat of the presentation here, which will be the bar exam. And I just wanted to start out with some very general information first about, how can I get eligibility to sit for a bar exam, whether it's in California, New York, or maybe another jurisdiction. Well, first of all, you should know, if you don't already, that many of the states in the US allow international LLM graduates to sit for the bar exam. Not all, but I would say more than half. And our federal system means that each of our states and also the District of Columbia or DC have their own separate bar and bar exam jurisdiction. And that means they have their own bar admission requirements and even their own bar exams that are custom tailored for graduates from that particular state or people who want to practice law in that particular state. And I just mentioned the National Conference of Bar Examiners, or NCBE, which is right here. They have a wonderful publication called the Bar Admission Guide, which you can search online. And that will give you a summary of all of the 50 states plus DC to show what their bar admission requirements are. So that's a really handy resource to note and to check out later. I did mention here on eligibility some things to remember about California as well as New York. For California, the three main requirements to be eligible to be admitted to the bar here, not just the bar exam, but actual admission to the California bar, are to pass the California bar exam, which is often abbreviated as CBX. Okay, so pass the California bar exam. You also have to pass another exam called the MPRE, which deals with professional responsibility. And you also need to receive a positive determination on moral character. So that kind of sums up generally what you need to do if you want to be a member of the California bar and practice law here. And an exciting change that happened last year for the bar exam are that there's a new modality offered. You can now basically take the bar exam remotely or online. Most people take it in person, but by now offering it remotely, it's opened it up, I think, to a larger pool of potential applicants. So you now have that nice choice available to you. And the California bar exam, the bar office has a website that explains more about these modalities and the basic requirements for admission in more detail. Okay, so those are things to remember about California. Those of you who are maybe thinking about New York, I would just note that an important point is if you're looking for an LLM program, it really should be a campus-based program because the New York bar authorities will not accept online LLM coursework if you're trying to use the LLM degree to qualify to sit for their bar. Okay. So those are general eligibility requirements. I just want to go now into more of the state requirements in depth. And so I started here by showing you, and some of you may be very familiar with this because you've looked it up already, but different subjects that are tested on both of the state bar exams. So I put California at the top since that's kind of our #1 choice here, but New York is listed as well. And I mentioned for California, it's a non-UBE state, so it does not recognize the uniform bar exam that is recognized in many other states. And that's just a kind of a standardized multiple choice type exam that some states allow you to take, and you can transfer that score to other jurisdictions. So California, it's important to note, is not a part of that UBE system. So they're a non-UBE state. New York is. So it's a UBE state and accepts scores from the uniform bar exam that you may have taken at another time or in a different place. But you'll see here the subjects that are tested, there's quite a bit of overlap, but there are some things that are unique as well about the different states. For example, California has community property as a bar exam subject, where New York does not. New York tests on Article 9 of the Uniform Commercial Code, or the UCC, that California does not. But there are certain things that are tested in both states, right? Like constitutional law, contracts, torts, evidence, those very doctrinal courses that are common to almost any legal education that you may get. Okay, so you can see it's a wide variety of topics that are tested on. And that kind of begs the question, like, how many of these can I take as an LLM student? Well, you don't have enough credits in the program to take all of the subjects tested on the bar exam, but you can take a very good handful. I would say maybe up to 5 or so as regular classes. And then anything that you haven't taken as a class, you could study and prepare for in a private bar prep course. Okay, so that's the overview of what's tested under both states. And now I just want to flip, I think, to California, get more specific here on bar exam eligibility. So there are some nice websites and information available. I just listed one here for ease of reference. If you're an attorney who received your education outside of the United States, you can take a screenshot of that, or I'll share it with you afterwards, or I can even put it in the chat probably. So that is all you need to know if you are an attorney from another jurisdiction outside of the United States. And how can you qualify to sit for the bar exam in California? And it breaks down generally into 2 groups of applicants, or 2 groups of eligibility. Either first, you could be an attorney who's already admitted to practice law in your home country, or you're not. You might have your law degree or professional law degree, but you're not yet admitted to practice law. So that's how I distinguished it here. And the California rules basically say if you are admitted to practice law, you technically don't need any more legal education, whether it's in the US or elsewhere. You could just register to sit for the bar, study hard, and hopefully pass the test. But even though it's not required, it might still be a good idea to do an LLM program in that case, because you can really go through a lot of these subjects in more detail and learn them in a deeper level than you would in just like a private bar prep course. Okay, so the second group, which are most of the people that probably are in our student population, are those who have their law degree, but they're not yet admitted to practice law. So they're not actually attorneys yet in their home country. And in this case, if you want to sit for the California bar exam, you would want to do an LLM program for sure. And so it should be at least 1 academic year long. So maybe a fall and a spring semester, or a spring and a fall semester. Maybe you have some summer classes as well, but it's 1 year long, and it should have at least 20 credits required in the program. Now, as you'll see later, ours are 24 or 25 credits, so that you're covered there with the minimum number of credits. And in general, here in California, you can do a program that's online or on campus. Remember, in New York, just campus only. And one thing that you do need to take that's a requirement is professional responsibility. Now, the California Bar Office also recommends that the student take at least 3 other bar subjects, but they're not considered mandatory. But I would still recommend take as many bar subjects as you can as an LLM student. But for sure, you need to take professional responsibility, which deals mainly with lawyer ethics, and it has a lot of crossover into many areas of practice. And so it's an important topic, kind of a thematic topic that's tested throughout the California bar exam. That's why they still have it as a required course for LLM students. Okay. I think next we have some information on New York right here. Some similarities with California, but if you're an internationally educated attorney, you need to take a campus program, an LLM program here in the US, and hopefully at a school that's ABA accredited or accredited by the American Bar Association, like we are here at USD. And the main requirements are listed here as far as subjects that you should take. The first being professional responsibility, very important in New York, just like in California. And at least 2 credits in something called legal research and writing, which we offer here in our program. And then 2 credits in what they call American law. And our program fulfills this requirement through a course called Introduction to US Law, which is 2 credits. And then finally, you need to take at least 6 additional credits in any of the subjects tested on the bar exam, which I've repeated here so you can see them. So you might take more than 6 credits, but at least 6 credits in these areas like evidence, torts, constitutional law, contracts, criminal law. So you have choice. Wherever you think you would benefit most from study, I would focus on taking those courses. If you have some experience taking these subjects in another country, that can be helpful, and maybe you don't necessarily need to take them again as an LLM student here. So, as an academic advisor, I would work with you to kind of plan out which courses make the most sense for you, whether it's to sit for California bar or the New York bar. Okay. Next, we have our degree requirements and how we try to work those together with your bar exam plans, whether it's California, New York, or another state. So first of all, our campus LLM program, that's our traditional one here, taught in San Diego at USD, and it's the LLM in US Law program. And this one requires you to complete 25 credits. Remember, California requires at least 20 credits minimum. So here we have 25, and you need to maintain a cumulative grade point average of at least 2.0. That's to graduate successfully. So a 2.0 on a letter scale is like a C, or an average score. And so even if you didn't have a course that you got a grade of, let's say, less than 2.0 slightly, as long as you receive more than 2.0 in your other courses, you should be fine. The point is that you should have a cumulative GPA no less than 2.0 in order to graduate. We only have 2 required courses in this program. I mentioned both of these just a moment ago. Introduction to US Law, which is 2 credits, kind of your overview and introduction to basic US legal system, our federal system, the court structure, the common law approach to cases and court decisions. We also have legal writing and research, which is a 2-credit course that's required. And you learn the US legal style of writing and research, which may be similar to your home country or quite different. Most students find that it's quite a bit different than what they may have learned in their home law school. So those are the only 2 required courses. So a total of 4 credits. And that means if you do the math, you have 21 credits of electives. The only thing you need to complete in addition to the 2 required courses is 1 paper or writing course, and that can be in any area that you're interested in. And our course descriptions would say if it's a paper or writing course. And so you have choice there what type of writing course you take. But other than that, you can take a variety of legal subjects. If you want to focus on a concentration, let's say business and corporate law, or IP, or international law, or tax, you can do that for sure. But if you want to take the bar exam, you can take bar exam subjects and kind of forget about a concentration. So you can go either way with that, or you can just take a wide variety of legal courses. Okay, so that's a lot of elective credits to work with. Next, if we look at our online program, you'll see just slightly different. It's the same. It's LLM in US Law, but it's the online version of it. And it has 1 less credit. So 24 instead of 25 credits are required. And you need to also maintain a cumulative 2.0 grade point average. And the 2 summer course, you'll see it's a preset curriculum. So you start off in the summer in this particular program rather than in the fall or the spring like our campus program. So you start off in the summer with the 2 courses, Intro to US Law, which is one that I teach, and then Professional Responsibility, that very important bar exam topic, which is another 2 credits. And then in the fall, you're set to take 4 established courses: legal writing and research, evidence, civil procedure, and contracts. And in the spring, everybody takes torts, property, criminal law, and constitutional law. Now you can see just by looking at this list, a lot of bar exam subjects are here. They're doctrinal law courses that are important, really, whether or not you plan to sit for the bar exam. But if you do, this will be very helpful to have a curriculum like this. So here we have a set curriculum as opposed to our campus program, which has all of those electives that you can work with. Okay, so set curriculum, you start in the summer instead of the fall or spring. I see we have something in the chat. I don't know, Felina, if you had, oh, just a good afternoon. Thank you. Okay. I think the last information that we'll be sharing with you before we open it up for questions is about the program itself, whether you're looking at campus or online, and kind of the timeline for an application. So we have that. believe right here on the next slide. And I was going to turn it over to Felina to guide you through this information. But I'm here if you want to open it up for questions at the end about either any of the bar exam topics or, the LLM curriculum. We're happy to take those questions as well.
Thank you, Robin. We do have one question in the chat before I take over. Someone asked, I do practice law in Mexico. That means I can go directly and apply for the California bar.
Yes. Yes, if you're an attorney licensed in Mexico, usually, and I think we have our assistant dean present, Dr. Karen Sigmund, correct me if I'm wrong, would that be meaning that they're registered with the cedula?
In that case, this person is saying they already practice law, so they must from the Department of Education.
Yes,
I
for
think this-
California.
yeah.
That's correct.
Perfect. And then we have another question asking how the new 2026 bar exam, well, I guess the one meaning that was just admitted this year, how they have some new things and how it has changed. Does that affect our program?
Yeah, it doesn't affect in terms of the LLM curriculum that you may want to take or should be taking. That's the same, and the requirements for international applicants is the same. Some things that tested or changed with the test itself are a little while ago, they changed it from a 3-day exam to a 2-day exam. But more recently, it was the introduction of the online or remote modality for taking the bar exam in California. So that was the other major change. But no other anticipated changes that would affect the way our LLM students approach their program.
And then another question came in. If a person gets licensed with the bar in California, can they move to another state and register, or can they only practice federal law in other states?
My understanding is that it would be limited to federal law, because each state has its own set of state laws and legal education that you need to be able to practice and give advice on state topics. So if you want to, let's say you got your bar in California, but you want to move and go practice in Texas, chances are you're going to have to take the Texas version of the bar exam in order to practice law in Texas and give advice on Texas legal matters. But if you practice in an area of federal law, you may be able to do that in multiple states, even though you haven't taken a bar exam in those other states. For example, immigration law is one of those federal areas of practice. And I have my bar admission is with the state of Arizona, but I can represent clients in any of the states. You might have some limitations on where you can physically set up an office. For example, California probably wouldn't let me set up a law office in my name to operate as a California entity, but I could associate myself with an established California firm and practice immigration law in California. Okay, so it varies a little bit state to state, but generally you have quite a bit of latitude to practice federal areas of law in multiple jurisdictions, even if you only have the bar exam in, let's say, one jurisdiction.
Thank you. We just had a question when we were talking about if they practice law in Mexico, if they can go directly to apply for the California bar. Our assistant dean had said something where the audio kind of cut out. So I think we were just curious.
I sent Misha a direct message. Thank you for
okay, perfect. Then we have another question for online students, what the requirements are to be LLM students. I'm happy to tackle this question as it is my area. And then I can go over to talk a little bit about our last couple of slides here. So for online students, the requirements to be LLM students is basically that they have the basic requirement is that you have a law degree from your country. So if you have studied in Mexico, that you finish your Mexican law studies, or from Europe or wherever you are in the world, that you have your degree. You don't have to be, as Robin mentioned, you don't have to be a practicing attorney in your home country, but you have to have the degree that would qualify you to practice law in your country. And that is our basic, most important requirement to get admitted into the LLM. Our program has an application package that we need from you, which includes our application form, a personal statement, resume, your official transcripts from your law school, and for international students, a TOEFL or IELTS test, and then one letter of recommendation. So that's kind of part of our application package, but the main requirement you need to be aware of is that you have finished your law studies in your home country. Robin, do you have anything that I missed?
No, I think you've got it. We may summarize those points right at the end on the last slide, but yeah, I think you covered it.
Yeah, perfect. So on the slide that we have open here is just a little bit of extra information about the program. The on-campus one starts twice a year, either in mid-August or early January. Our online program only starts in the summer, so that only starts one time a year. All our on-campus students especially complete the program in 1 year. That is also because it is tied to the F1 student visa often. Our online students also complete the degree in 1 year so far, just because it is for them the best course of action. And it is designed for full-time working attorneys. So it is designed to be completed in 1 year next to a full-time job. Yeah, and so we have our on-campus program that has our merit-based scholarship, which acts as a tuition reduction with your application. This is only optional for our on-campus students, not for our online students. And before I go any further, we got a couple more questions here, which I would defer to you, Robin, if you know the answer. Someone asked, if I study the LLM, could I apply to be a teacher in any university?
Just based on experience, I would say the answer is yes. And some people just have their primary law degree before going into teaching. So it depends on the level of teaching you want to be at and also the institution that's hiring. Some may require you to have the JD or JD equivalent only. Others may only consider candidates that do have an LLM or perhaps a PhD in law. To get to those top level type professor positions, especially. So yeah, it really depends. That's kind of a typical legal answer. It depends on the situation and the place you apply, but it can definitely help you set you apart from your peers if you have an LLM and they do not, as far as your possible, teaching credentials and skills.
Thank you. And then I think just one clarifying question. Someone asked, when I have the LLM degree from USD, I am eligible to take the bar exam, correct?
It depends on the state. For California, yes, assuming you took the required courses you were supposed to take and graduated in good standing, you would be eligible to register to sit for the bar. They also require you, for example, to have a positive moral character determination, which is not handled by the university, that's handled by the state bar. So, you just need to kind of check all the boxes of what the state bar requires. But as far as the LLM program itself, yes, it does fulfill the requirements for California bar admission. And our campus program also fulfills the requirements for the New York bar exam. And we've had also graduates sit for other bar exams. I could think of Texas, Maryland, Illinois. Those are some other states where our graduates have taken the bar exam.
Thank you. Another clarifying question. Do I need to be actively practicing in my home country or just be licensed to practice for bar eligibility?
Well, if you're trying to qualify, let's say in California, to show that you are licensed, I don't think they have a minimum time requirement where you have to be in practice for a certain number of years or anything. but you do have to be in active status and in good standing. And so they would normally require you to get something like a certificate of good standing from your home jurisdiction, your home bar office, but not for any particular length of time.
Awesome. Thank you, Robin. I think now we can move on to our last slide. That is it for questions at this time. Yeah, so this is just another overview. Feel free to take a screenshot of it or something if that is helpful if you are interested at all. We have our priority deadlines, especially for the on-campus ones. These are important to make sure we can get all student visa processes sorted out in time. Our summer term is coming up soon here, where the application deadline is May 1st. And an overview of our application package. You will get more information either from us if you reach out to us or on our website. For example, the application for the online program, we have the application PDF directly on our website. For our campus program, we go through the LSAC website, where there's also a direct link on our website to the portal to apply. And then if there are ever any questions about application, the materials, how to apply, which program to apply for, if you're still kind of unsure, feel free to email me at any time. We are always excited to answer any questions, hear from you, any thoughts. I saw my colleagues were so kind to put my name and email address in the chat. So make sure to grab that if you're interested. And we had one other question trickling in here real quick. What is the deadline when the LLM student should be starting the application process for the bar? Robin, I think I'll throw this one to you.
Yeah, so it varies year to year a little bit and by state. Right now, I know they are working in California to announce the application period for the July bar exam. Just like 2 days ago, it still hadn't been posted yet, but we expect that information to come shortly. And I think the application period was going to be like mid-April to mid-May or early April to early May to sit for the July bar exam. So it's typically about 2 months before the actual exam date would be the absolute latest deadline to apply to register to sit for the bar, at least in California. Okay, so each state has its own timeline. Almost every state is going to offer 2 options for the bar exam, or 2 times, once in February and the other in July. And the July bar exam tends to be the one with the most applicants, just based on when they've graduated and things. But you can also sit for the bar exam in February in most states.
Perfect. We got another question. Before I answer this question, I just wanted to also point out I put my calendar in the chat as well if anyone would like to have a virtual one-on-one meeting to discuss interests or options. Just wanted to make sure everyone is aware that that is in the chat. And then we had a question. I have an associate's degree, AAS, paralegal studies in the US. Do I still need to have the official TOEFL or IELTS test? And I can answer this question. We do have a TOEFL or IELTS waiver form that can be requested, which something like a degree from a US university taught in English is a good candidate for. One thing to note when filling out such a waiver form is that you no longer are eligible for exam accommodation. So if you do submit a TOEFL or IELTS score, you will get to have more time for your exams. That is 20 minutes per hour of exam time. So if an exam is 2 hours long, you get to take it in 2 hours and 40 minutes. And you are also allowed to take a English dictionary with you into the exam. So there are some important perks to be aware of if you do submit your language test. because as soon as you fill out the waiver, you no longer get extra exam time or an English dictionary in the exam with you. And then we also just have our LLM application form in the chat for anyone interested and ready to apply today.
Maybe just one last point I would like to mention, anybody who's kind of thinking about different LLM programs, we do have an LLM in Spanish that we offer online as well called the Maestria. But for bar exam purposes, I think all of us would probably advise you to really focus on an English medium program, whether it's the campus LLM in US law or the online LLM in US law, because that would better prepare you for the bar exam since the bar exam is done in English. So that's just one point I wanted to make about, your different LLM program options. We have an excellent program in Spanish, but that may not be the best way to prepare for a bar exam.
Yes, those are the questions that we've had in the chat so far. If anyone would like to unmute themselves and ask a question or write it in the chat, we have a couple minutes.
And something, Felina?
Yes, please.
Although there is for the on-campus application process, the LSAC, which is on the apply directly with us, and that is at no cost. So there's free application if you do so directly with our office.
Yes, I will repeat it just because your audio cut out for a little second. That the PDF application that is in the chat, you can also use that to apply for the campus program, even though we typically use the LSAC portal. If you would apply with the PDF application directly to our office, it is a free application. You do not have to pay the LSAC fee. So take advantage of that opportunity exclusively here. And then we had one more question come in. Robin, I think this one is for you. Once you register for the bar exam, how much time do you have to apply for the exam? The question is whether the person can register now and take it, for example, in July 2026.
Yeah, well, they're not letting people register that far in advance. Like right now, they're getting ready to start accepting applicants for July 2025 exam. So I don't believe it's possible to pre-register already, for July 2026, although there may be some components of getting admitted to the bar in general that you can get out of the way even before the exam portion is done, like a moral character determination or having your foreign education credentials looked at and evaluated. Those are steps that you can do in advance of actually taking the bar exam itself, if that makes sense. So certain steps you can do before the exam. Registering for the exam itself, you can only do it usually a few months beforehand, not a year in advance.
I have a quick follow-up question to that. Do you have to already be in an LLM program to prove that you will be eligible to sign up for the bar exam? Say if you were to plan before starting the LLM program?
Yeah, you just have to comply either at the time that you're registering for the bar exam, you should meet whatever the requirements are at that moment in time rather than at some future point, because things happen, right? Life happens. Maybe a person is in an LLM program, but they end up not completing it for whatever reason. So to be eligible to sit for the exam, you would either need to show that you are right now at this moment already an attorney in good standing in your home jurisdiction, and therefore you don't need to do any more legal education if you don't want to. Or at this moment in time, you have completed an LLM program that was worth at least 20 credits minimum, and it included the subjects like Introduction to US Law and Legal Writing and Research or Professional Responsibility. So you have to show that you meet the requirements at the time that you're seeking to establish your eligibility, rather than at some future point that you may establish eligibility.
Perfect, thank you.
Felina, and most people.
Karen, I'm sorry, your audio is coming out.
I heard most people and then.
Yeah.
I'm going to switch over. But hopefully you'll be able to hear. Can you hear me now?
That's better.
I was just going to mention that most people usually will do a bar prep course that's several months long after they complete their program. So it's not just graduation and then do the bar. And that is everyone in an LLM program and everyone in a JD program that's 3 years of US law. Everyone will do a bar prep course to get them ready for the bar exam. So it's the LLM plus that preparation course, which is what's recommended in order to increase your chances of passing the bar. You hear me?
Yep,
Yes.
got it. Excellent point. Yes, some of the bar courses that you may hear about at some point are things like Barbary or Themis. There are others, but those are kind of popular choices for both JD and LLM graduates to take. And those definitely help better prepare you for the bar exam. You'll do a lot of practice exams, get used to what the subject matter will be and that sort of thing. So as Dr. Sigmund said, everybody does those private bar prep courses, JD graduates and LLM graduates.
Yes, I've also heard that they're very beneficial to practice how the bar tests, especially because it is very different from a lot of other countries in the world of how to take a test and the time pressure, and kind of it also gives you strategies of how to go about answering the questions very efficiently. So it's not just the subject itself, but also the test and how it is administered, which I think can be really helpful if you're not familiar with this way of testing. Well, perfect. Thank you. We don't have any further questions right now, so I want to take the time to thank everyone for participating. Thank you, Robin, for donating your time to us and for helping everyone learn more about this subject. And if anyone has any questions, Robin and I both have our information in the chat.
Good afternoon. I have one question. If I live in Florida right now and I start to study the LLM online, when I finish, before to apply to the bar, I have to move to live in California, or I could start everything living here.
Well, they do have a remote testing option now for the California bar exam, which in theory you could take from any place.
Oh, thank you so much. So I don't have to live in the area for the jurisdiction to give the test.
No, you do not any longer.
Oh, excellent. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Before you'd either have to travel and stay here and maybe get a hotel and sit for the bar exam in person, but now you can actually do it remotely from wherever you are.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. See, it's better. I'm thinking, I'm a registered lawyer in Peru, but I'm thinking to wait to finish the LLM because we have different style of law. In Peru, we have Germanic and Roman, and here is common law. So it's very different the form of make all the process. But this reason I recommend also to better to study first. No.
Yeah.
Thank you for everything. Thank you for this. This
You're
nice.
quite welcome. Thank you for your good questions.
And just one,
No.
I'm gonna, just one more reminder. Can you hear me?
Yeah, when you get closer, we can hear you.
Yes, please check the bar. Can you hear
No,
me?
déjalo ahí, ya va, espérate.
Please check the
Coño.
bar association of the state where you want to take the bar exam, because as one of the participants just mentioned, who's in Florida, Florida is one of the states that's very protective. They actually require that you have a Juris Doctor program to take the bar. And again, New York requires for an LLM to be on campus. So we always advise our students, check the state, check the bar association of the state where you want to take the bar to make sure that that whatever program you decide to study, that the units meet the requirements, that whether it's on campus or online meets the requirements, but because every state is very, very different. So please make sure you do your homework.
Yes, thank you for that. Very important.
Yeah,
point.
sorry if I made you all busy. I just flipped back to the slide that mentions that point of each state is different. Check with them directly. And also as that resource, the NCBE bar admission guide is a helpful place to start.
Perfect. Well, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sigmund, for joining us here. Thank you, Robin, for your time and expertise. And we look forward to hearing from anyone interested in doing the LLM. Have a wonderful rest of
Yeah.
your day, everyone, and email us with any questions.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.